Hi, in this lecture, we will study about one more important critical reasoning type of question, that is finding the assumption. As we understood earlier that premise plus assumption equals conclusion, this assumption might be directly stated or indirectly mentioned in the statement. So here are some options or tricks to identify this assumption. The trick number one is that assumption always fills out a logical gap. Whenever you read a statement, you might think that okay, there is something missing in the statement that must be present in order to logically make sense. If you are able to identify it, yes, that is the assumption. Option number two, the assumption never goes out of scope. If you're talking about apples, we are talking about apples. The assumption is about apples, it never goes to oranges. Assumption number three, the assumption is relevant to the discussion. That is, the assumption is already focusing on something that has been discussed about. It will never ever try and deviate the topic from the real conclusion or the real argument. You really need to understand that the assumption is focusing on the argument and supporting the argument. And the last, assumption does not change the topic of discussion. So point number 3 and point number 4 are very similar to each other, one being about the relevance and the other being about the topic of discussion or the main topic broad overview in hand. A basic simple trick that you should apply is of least extreme negation. I will tell you how to use this in an example. The technological conservatism of bicycle manufacturers is a reflection of the kinds of demand that they're trying to meet. So, from this statement, we understand that the bicycle manufacturers are conservative in their technological innovations. The only cyclists seriously interested in innovation and willing to pay for it are the bicycle racers. So, this is very clearly understandable that there are people who really want to get innovative products in the bicycle manufacturing industry, which are the bicycle racers. And apart from that, the bicycle manufacturers are not at all promoting innovation in the industry. Therefore, innovation in bicycle technology is limited by what authorities will accept as standards for purposes of competition in bicycle races. Can you draw out a logical flow of context here? We are saying that bicycle manufacturers are not innovating. Why are they not innovating? They're not innovating because cyclists are not interested in such innovations and they're not willing to pay for these. Only a few cyclists who are actually racers are interested in these innovations. And hence, we are drawing out a conclusion that innovation is only limited to what authorities accept as a standard purpose for competition. So we are just innovating to the point where our competition standards are met. What is the assumption in this? Can you think of an assumption here? Let's look at the options. The market for cheap traditional bicycles cannot expand unless the market for high performance competition bicycles expands. Do you think this statement can actually fill out a logical gap in our question? No, it cannot, because this is actually going out of topic. As we discussed earlier, does not change the topic of discussion. The topic of discussion here is innovation, and option number A is talking about market and market demand. So we can easily cut out option number A. Option number B. High performance bicycles are likely to be improved more as a result of technological innovations developed in small workshops. I would stop you right here. Whenever you see something like this, small workshops, has it ever been discussed in the question? No, we cannot infer it. As we see, the assumption never goes out of scope. This clearly goes out of scope. So I don't need to read the remaining part of the option as well. Option number 3. Bicycle racers do not generate a strong demand for innovations that fall outside what is officially recognized as standard purpose of competition. So this starts to make sense to me when I start thinking that okay, the innovation is not happening because there is not enough demand. There are only a few people. But what if those few people are able to generate enough demand? What if these bicycle racers generate such a strong demand for technological innovation that the manufacturers have to innovate? That is the question which arises. That is a logical gap that I can find, and C option very easily identifies this. Let's look at the other options as well. The technological conservatism of bicycle manufacturers results primarily from the desire to manufacture a product that can be sold without being altered to suit different national markets. Once again, it comes to different national market, it goes out of scope, and hence it's wrong. Look at the final option. And the authorities who set standards for high performance bicycle racing do not keep informed about innovative bicycle design. This might sound a little more interesting, but when we actually see, is this filling out the logical gap for why innovation is not happening? Look at the first statement. The conservatism is a result of the kinds of demand. That means our focus here is on demand. Does the high performance bicycle racing standards do something with demands? I don't think so. And even if they do, option C sounds much more strong here. You might get confused in two options sometimes in a critical reasoning problem. The answer to be selected there is the one which strongly supports the argument given. There may be two correct answers, but the answer which strongly supports the argument will be the correct answer. Hence, option C is the correct answer. This is a hard level problem which we discussed about assumptions. So problems like these can come in your GMAT exam, and you need to make certain wise decisions on the spot and analyze the question to solve it in about 1.5 to 2 minutes. Do practice these questions. Happy learning.